Thank you. Bez Hashem, the steam should be tomorrow if everything works out. Bez Hashem, and
And then cut 115, and then afterwards to see it. 180.
180. Check the.
Yeah, 118.
okay, so we're on Daf Kuf Chaf, and the Mishnah has spoken about what's necessary in order to testify somebody died. You have to be able to recognize them with facial features, including the forehead and the nose. And then the next point was that you have to see that he actually died, even if he's chopped up or crucified or an animal is eating him. It's not enough till you see that he actually died. And the third point was that after 3 days, you can really recognize him. So even if you think you see he looks like somebody, maybe he doesn't. The Buddha says that it's not a standard of 3 days. It depends on the time, on the person, the time, the place. Okay, so the point is that it says that, I left out one point. The Mishnah says that only his facial features, but simanim begufo uvekelev is not good enough. Even if there are simanim on his body or on his garments, that's not enough. You have to be able to see his face. So the Gemara is going to talk about that, and just to get the Akdama, the whole Gemara is not talking about yet about a siman mufa, but we call that it's a strong siman. That's going to be the Gemara later on, and it's something that's not considered a strong siman. A strong siman, the Gemara is going to say for sure. That's going to be a good identification. We're talking about something that's not considered a siman mufa.
Small mixed would be something like
The Gemara is going
on his back or something.
something like that. Okay. The Gemara is going to talk about some examples. We'll get an idea. But when there's a siman mufa, then that's not the subject. So we're talking about simanim that we'll see some examples. And the Amish says the siman is not good. The siman is not enough. The Asimar is kasha. Remember the siman love the rice, so you can't trust the siman. You don't with the rice, you can't trust the siman. Ramini, we see you could trust the siman. Even the gabe being mater eshesish. It says masa kasha bakis ubarniki batabas oshinim seven kaila bafilus vamaruba kasha. Here the case is about a get, and you don't know if it's the original get. Someone wrote a get for his wife, and the names for some reason is not going to be a siman. The name, even though it's his name, his wife's name, maybe it's somebody else with the same name. That's not the subject over here. But you want to know if it's the original document that he had written. So even though it's tied up to a kiss, some kind of a pocket or an arniki, a wallet, tabas, a ring. So the fact that it's connected to something which is recognizable, is that not a siman? Or if it was found amongst his other kalim, you know, that it's amongst his personal belongings, even long after, kosher. That means you do rely on the siman. That's the most kosher. And they allowed to say this, you're not to assume that it's the same get, and you could use it to divorce her. That means you're somewhere even on a siman just for Eshesish. Here the case is if it's the same person who died. Here the question is if it's the same get. And it says over there that you do rely on the simanim to say that this is the original get. So too you should be able to rely on simanim, on his body, on his clothing, that this is the same person. That's a kasha. A contradiction from our Mishnah to the Mishnah over there. Amar Abai lo kasha, Hora Belazer ben Ma'avoy, Hora Banan. So Abai says we find the Machlokas Tanam about the subject. Can you rely on simanim? Titania, ein midin ala shuma. Belazer ben Ma'avoy Omer midin. A shuma is a wart. Could you rely on a wart, some kind of birthmark? Could you rely on that to be a siman? So the Brisa says, Tanakama says no, and that's going to be the same as our Mishnah that says you cannot rely on the siman. But Belazer ben Ma'avoy says you can, and that's going to be the Mishnah over there. Right? Get the siman of the kiss karni tabas. That machlokas if you can rely on a siman or not. Let's see more. The Gemara continues more. So far the Gemara says that as a machlokes. The Gemara says this must be the machlokes. Is a shuma. A shuma is a case of the word over here. That is not a good siman and not machlokes. So it must be this is the machlokes, and our Mishnah will be one shita, and the case by the get will be another shita. No, the kul yalma. That was Abai said that. Abai said that as a machlokes. Rav was going to say another possibility. Amar Rava. The kul yalma, first line, simanim daraisa. Could be everybody holds that a siman will be good, and the case of the simanim will be good. We'll have to figure out. The Gemara is going to talk about how come in our Mishnah it's not good. The Mishnah says that siman is not good. So he will say that siman is good, and even according to the Rabbanan who say you cannot rely on a word. Why not? Ben Gilo means somebody who was born in the same mazel. As far as our purposes, it isn't the point. But the case is the subject is that somebody else has the same kind of a shuma, even though he has a certain wart or a birthmark in a certain place in his body. But it could be that somebody else has the same one. Here the Gemara talks about a Ben Gilo, somebody who's born in the same mazel. Maybe he has the birthmark in the same place. But the point is to say that he holds that Bashuma is not a good simon, even though simon is enough to rely on. Everybody will agree. Even Tanakama will agree that a simon in general is good. But this particular simon of Bashuma, that's not a good simon. But everybody would agree that a simon is reliable. Or Ikadami, another reason why a shuma is not reliable. The focus is if the word changes after death, means you're looking at the person after he died and you see a shuma and you say, I recognize it. It could be that it's not the one that you recognize. What looks to you is something else. And the one that you recognize is not what it was. There's this birthmark or word change after death. You want to testify about it after he dies, that you look at it and you see that this is the same person, this is a simon. That's not a good simon. The Gemara says two reasons why a shuma might be less than a regular simon. But it could be everybody would hold that a regular simon is good. The Gemara is going to have to go back to explain if that's true. So how come our Mishnah says that a simon is not good? Simon b'kelev gufo is not good. So that has to be explained. There's also ikadami in Rava, means Abai said that's machlokis. Rava says it's not a machlokis, but there are two choices in Rava. If everybody holds that both Rabbi Elazar and Rava and Rabbanan both hold that a simon is good enough, or both hold the simon is not good enough. That bottom line, ikadami omer Rava, the kul yom simanim Rabbanan. Everybody holds that a simon Rabbanan means that it's not reliable. You can't rely on it on the Raisa. Let's say a case of marrying the Esha Sish to say that she's divorced or that her husband died, you wouldn't be able to rely on it. The opposite. It could be that a shuma is better, even though shuma is usually not good, but a simon mufak. The word mufak, I tried to look around already what the word means. Nowadays, we take it to mean that it's a clear simon. The word might mean literally clear or bright. That it means that it's something which is definite, more definite. So everybody would hold that a simon mufak surely is good. Masav a simon mufak or masav a simon mufak. There is a shuma, now on the contrary, before the Gemara says shuma might be less than a regular simon. Here the Gemara says no, the opposite. It could be that it's even better than a regular simon. So at this point, the Gemara says, as far as a regular simon, call it as a regular simon, not a simon mufak, and not something less. We have three kinds of simanim now. There are some simanim that are extra good, and that everybody holds that it's reliable. There are some things that everybody would hold that it's not good if it's not a good simon, like a shuma. If other people have it also, or if it's something that changes, then it's not a good simon. And the issue of the Gemara is talking about a regular simon, something in between that's called a simon. That one side might be that everybody holds that's machlokis. Another side everybody holds that it is good. Another side everybody holds that it's not good. That's all about this. The middle category called a simon. A little bit further to get a little bit more information. And the question was, we said as we were learning the Gemara that one side of Rava said everybody holds that a simon is good. Only a shuma is not good. If a simon is good, so how come our Mishnah says that a simon is not good? Is not a good simon. Our Mishnah says that a simon on his body or a good simon, not a good simon. Why not? The answer is gufo, both for goods. The case of the simon that the Mishnah says is not good is just a very general simon. He's tall, he's short. That's not a good simon. That's like a nothing. That's not even called a simon. That's less than a regular simon. But a regular simon would be good. And how about the kalim? How about his clothing? The chayshinu l'sheila. Even though it's his clothing, you see that it's his clothing, but maybe he lent it to somebody. So you can't rely just because he's wearing this jacket. So you can't assume that it's Reuven's jacket. We can't assume that it's Reuven. Maybe Reuven lent it to Shimon. And even though you find Shimon, this person dead with Reuven's clothing, it doesn't mean that it's Reuven. The Gemara goes to a little side point that is put in parentheses to show that it's a side point. At this point, I choshesh that somebody lent his clothing to somebody else. It talks about above Metzia that if you find the donkey with the saddle, that you know whose the saddle is, you're allowed to assume that that's who the donkey is. Say, well, why? Maybe be choshesh that maybe the owner of the donkey lent the saddle to somebody else, and it's not his donkey. It's his saddle, but it's not his donkey. The answer is lo shayla. That's something you don't lend, even though people do lend their jackets and clothing, but they're not going to lend their donkey's saddle. Why? The maskiv le'lachamra, because it's going to bruise the donkey because it doesn't fit him, like a pair of shoes. Once it gets broken in, worn in, so then it fits, it molds to his body. So it's so too, they're not going to lend their ukif of the donkey to somebody else. But other things that you do lend, so then it's not a simon. The Mazakasha on this, most of Kasha Bikisu Barnaki, but Abba Sechim Adrinan. You're saying now that you choshesh that you lent something, so it's not a good simon. So how come the case is said before by the get that was tied to a pocket, some kind of pocket book, whatever, or a arniki, a wallet, and a ring? If you say that you choshesh that he lent it, so maybe he lent these things. It's not the same get, and the person whose wallet it is somebody else's wallet. He lent it to him. The answer is these things also you don't lend. Tabas chayish l'ziyufe. people don't lend their signet rings because someone might use the seal. He has a signet ring that's used to seal things. That's a signature. So he's not going to lend that. And also people have a superstition that they don't want to lend their wallet or pocketbook to somebody because they think Rashi says that they're giving over the mazel. Together with the pocketbook goes their mazel also. I don't know if you're allowed to do that or not. Are you allowed to have such a kind of superstition? I don't know. But the point is people don't do it. So then you're allowed to rely that he wouldn't have lent it, and that's why, even though usually we are choshesh l'sheila, but these particular things, a saddle, signet ring, wallet, these things you don't lend. But otherwise, we're not going to rely on a clothing because you might have lent it, and even though you find Ruvain's clothing, it doesn't mean that it's Ruvain. One more point, the Gemara says that a similar answer to the beginning, you could say the case where there's not a simon on his kalim, just like it says on his guf, is that he's long, tall, or short. That's not a good simon. So too, you can say about a kalim, that's saying the color of the thing, that is not as specific that it's his garment, but that it's white or that it's red, just the color. So that's the same thing as tall and short, fat and skinny, red, and that doesn't show anything. That's not a good simon. That's the end of the sugya. What comes out? Everybody holds that a simon mufak is reliable. Everybody holds that there are some simon that are not reliable. And those are going to be the things that other people have. It's not considered enough of identification. And then it's something in between that's called a regular simon, and that's machlokes. Either it's machlokes tanoim, or like Rabbi said, we don't know what Rabbi said. Either everyone knows that a simon is reliable, is not reliable. Nowadays, that they have mamash simanim mufakim, if they have kind of identification that's not fingerprints, these things that the mamash a simon mufak, then there's no question that you can rely on. The question is only by something which is considered a simon, but not mufak. If it's just the color, or black hat and glasses, something like that, that's not going to show anything. But if it's something that's a simon, that's a machlokes, might be a machlokes. Simon mufak is surely good.
The body or on a tiny intestine, would you accept DNA today?
I would think yes. I would think for sure, but I don't know the mice what they do. But the DNA is like a fingerprint, for sure should be acceptable. It's mamish a simon mufak. It's more than a simon mufak. It's mamish. Should be. Yeah, I would think for sure. I would think there's no question that it's reliable. It continues. I feel yes.
Saying parental cases, who the baby's shiva l'rishon or sheva l'rishon or
if it's you have to know the facts. If the DNA is no question that it's impossible to make a mistake, I would think that it's no question. But I don't know what the Rabbanim say. I feel the Mishnah continues that even if you see him chopped up, it's not enough proof.
I'm sorry, just also that's very important.
Yeah. This is what we're talking about. This is the subject. We're talking about identifying a dead body. That's not much the subject. And here it says Simon Mufak is good. So surely these things are going to be good. I feel the room of So it says that you can't rely that he's dead only if you see him dead. You have to testify that you saw him dead. Even if you see him chopped up or an animal is eating at him, it's not considered a good testimony until you see him dead. Tomorrow wants to know a person who's chopped up can still be living. The name of the Maguyat Chai. Somebody who has, I don't know what they chopped up, how much he's chopped up, but it says there's some kind of thing that he's cut up and still Yehosh is that he's still living, and even though you left before he would die, there could be that he did live. Is that possible? It says that a person does not become tamei as a dead man only till he dies. Then he's a tamei, then he's maced. But just because he's chopped up or he's a ghost, he's not yet tamei. He's still living. As long as he's alive, and he's not yet tamei maced. But the diak is that he's definitely going to die. If it just says he's not mitame, that means that he's not going to live. He's definitely not going to live. Right now he's alive, so he's a ghost, but he's not yet dead. But it doesn't. But if sure he's going to die, if he might live, that right, the Mishnah wouldn't say that he's not mitame. Sure, he's not mitame. It must be that he's definitely going to die. So contradiction. Our Mishnah says that a Meguyah may live, and the other place over there it's mashma that he cannot live. Rabbi Lokasha, Rabbi found the machlokas and about this. The Tanya, Midin ala Meguyah, they Midin ala Tzolov, Rabbi Shimon Elazar Omer, Af ala Meguyah, they either Meshiach Lichvos ve'Lichios. Machlokas Tanam, about a Meguyah. Mamashak question. Meguyah, someone who's chopped up, is it possible for him to live? So Tanakama says you do testify that he definitely died. If he sees Meguyah against our Mishnah, Tanakama is against our Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon Elazar is like our Mishnah. Tanakama says that a Meguyah cannot live. So if you see a Meguyah, you could testify that you saw him dead. In Midin ala Tzolov, if somebody was crucified, that's not a simon that he's dead. It could be that he'll still live. But if he's Meguyah, if he's chopped, so then he cannot live, and you can testify that's against our Mishnah, and that Gemara puts together with the other Mishnah over there that says that it's not Tamei, means even though he's definitely not going to live, but he's not Tamei Meis until he dies. But our Mishnah also like Rosh Hashanah Elazar that says that on a Meguyah also you do not testify because it could be that he's going to live. The word lichavos is to be burnt. That means to cauterize. That is possible, some kind of cauterization that they burn, and then it's possible to live to put it together. It stops bleeding. It stops other things also. So there is a possibility that they'll put the wound together in a way that it's going to heal. Lichios, they could still be he's going to live. Yes, according to Shimon Elazar, Meguyad might live because they might do some cauterization and he'll live. So machlokes, if you could testify that a Meguyad is dead, they definitely died. He's not dead yet, but is he definitely going to die? Tanakama says definitely going to die, and he would hold also, that's the Mishnah before that says that he's not tummy, but he's definitely going to die. According to Shimon Elazar, not necessarily, it could be that he's going to live. There was a side problem with the Mishnah, is even if, no matter who the author is, but it says in our Mishnah that a Meguyad cannot live. And there was a problem with a Mishnah coming up soon. Can you say that our Mishnah that says Meguyad can live, may live, does our Mishnah fit? The truth is, no matter who it is. Let's talk about it. Who it is, there's a Mishnah coming up that's going to be a contradiction. For the world of the there's a case in Asya, I don't know where that is, that somebody, they lowered him into the ocean. He was on a boat, they lowered him into the ocean, maybe to get fish, whatever, and then they pulled him back, only had his foot. That means that he somehow, whatever it was, a shark, whatever it was, somebody, somehow his foot got disconnected from the rest of his body. So where is he? We don't know right now. But if you found the foot above the knee, he cannot live. No matter where he is, he cannot live because he's a treifa. The fact that he's missing his foot from above the knee. Maybe today is different, I don't know, but the Gemara says if his foot was chopped off above the knee, he cannot live. She cannot be married, the wife cannot be married because you don't know where he is. Where he is, we don't know. But wherever he is, he has his foot. So he's not definitely a treifa. But if the foot was cut from above the knee, so he cannot live, even if, no matter how he got away, even if he's still living, but he can't live because he doesn't have a foot. How long? I think 12 months might be a treifa. But anyway, what do you see from here? That you don't say that this Mishnah is saying that if he's chopped up, he cannot live. Is that the kasha? Yeah, our Mishnah said before that Meguyad may live. That's why you can't testify that he's dead. And here it says that if his foot is cut off, it says that he cannot live. And if you say that it's possible to do an operation of some sort, that he can be cauterized, so then even if it's above his knee, also he choshes that he's alive. How come the Malaman Akuva, he says that she's allowed to be married? Maybe there was some kind of operation that they were able to do. Wherever he got, they were able to cauterize. The Gemara answers, Shani Maya, the Marzu Maka. Since he was in the water, once he's in the water, so then that blows up the Maka. Rashi says it strengthens the Maka, the word Marzu, and then you're not going to be able to, even according to Shimon Elazar says it's possible sometimes to have some kind of operation to be able to replace, to connect the lost limb, but if it's in water, so then it's not possible. And then everybody would agree that he's definitely going to die. So here, the Gemara is going to ask, the way the Mepharshim explained, the Gemara is asking that you see that he dies immediately. This whole thing about cauterization is if he has time to live a little bit. But if he dies immediately, then it's only going to, the story's over. And that's the Gemara's kasha. There was a story that somebody saw. Rabbi Baruch said he saw a Taya usually is an Arab merchant, that he took a sword and he chopped off the foot of his camel. They say it's talking about above the knee. And he wasn't even able to finish his moaning. He does say, or he didn't stop moaning until he died. It means the camel immediately died. And the Mashkash seems to be that if he immediately dies, then there's no question about cauterization. He's definitely died right away. So you see here that he doesn't have time to do any kind of cauterization. He dies on the spot. That was a weak camel. That's why he died right away. Usually there is time to spare. And then Rav Shimon bar Elazar could say that it's possible still to heal him. So what do we say so far? We had a question. Let's zoom out a little bit. More a contradiction from our Mishnah to Mishnah someplace else. Our Mishnah says that Meguyad may live, and the other Mishnah said that he's not Tamei Meis, means that he's going to definitely die. Just he's not Tamei yet. That was a contradiction. The first teretz was Machlokes of Shimon Elazar and Rabbana that Abai found the Bryce that has a Machlokes if a Meguyad could live or not. Second teretz, Rav Amma v'Sakim Milu Benes v'Divrei Hakol. This goes back to the beginning. This is Rav was arguing on the Bai before, not on the Bai we just mentioned. It's going back to the before that he says you don't say it's machlokes. Could be everybody will agree to our Mishnah that a Meguyad sometimes can live. V'Sakim Milu Benes. If he he was chopped, he was cut, his limb was cut with a very hot knife, then everybody holds that it's immediate cauterization. Even those who hold that Maguid cannot live, that's if he was chopped off regularly with a regular knife, and then to do some kind of operation, even with heat and stuff, the chavos to cauterize, that's a machlokes. But if the actual chopping of the limb was done with a heated knife, everyone holds that it could be that right away it heals it, and even though it cut off his limb, but he was immediately healed, and therefore he'd be able to live. Next subject. It talks about if you see that an animal was eating away at him, so you still can't testify that he's dead. Could be he's still alive. That's what we're talking about, that he was eating at him, not at a crucial limb. But if it's something like the heart, the head, parts of the body that he needs in order to live, then you could testify that he definitely is dead. What if they saw that they slaughtered, means that they severed the simonim, shnaim means the trachea and the esophagus, the windpipe and the food pipe. Same thing by shchita of an animal. So if you saw that to a person, they slaughtered, so to speak, the two simonim, or even rove of each one, rove shnaim, that rove of each of the two pipes were severed. So that's enough testimony that he definitely died. He ran away. You don't see him now. So did he die? He definitely cannot live. You can testify that he died, and his wife can remarry. That's the kasha. And then the kasha. Shmuel himself said that if a person was slaughtered, his two pipes, the windpipe and the food pipe, and he still gave a remez, he couldn't talk, but he hinted, he showed with his hand to him that give a get to my wife, write a get to my wife. So you could, as long as he's still alive, you could divorce his wife. Why is he interested? Because Yibum, whatever the case will be, he wants his wife to be divorced before he dies. So he's still considered alive, and you can listen to his instructions. So that's the Morris Kasha. You see that he's living. So the Morris says, yeah, he's still living, but he's going to die in a few minutes. The answer is, he's still living. We're not saying that he's dead right now, but he definitely cannot live. Therefore, you can testify after a few minutes that he definitely died.
Does his Girush work?
Yes, he has to give the get while he's still living. You can't give the get after he dies, but you can give the get as long as he's alive. And he's gonna, if you do it right away, so he's still living. He's not considered dead. He's considered alive until he dies, but he's definitely going to die. So as far as I'm concerned, that they saw that this happened, and then 10 minutes later they want to be able to testify that his wife can marry. Yes, 10 minutes later he's definitely dead. Tomorrow's a side kasha. If this is true that shchita of simonim definitely kills a person, so then a person who did it should have to go to Golas. There's a case here, somebody did it by mistake, that it's then of the cities of refuge. If somebody kills unintentionally, so he has to run away to the cities of refuge. It says someplace else he doesn't have to. It says that he doesn't go to Golas because of that. And the more things because he's not definitely going to die. And here you're saying that he does definitely die. The Gemara says, yeah, that's an exception. He's definitely going to die, but it could be that he didn't do it all by himself. He definitely is going to die, but it could be that he brought on his death a little bit sooner than it would have happened. As far as Golos, he's not Chayif Golos only if he did the whole thing by himself. And here it could be a Ruach Bilbalato. That means that the wind, that once there was severed, so then the fact that the wind came in, so that's what caused that he should die. He would have died. Sure, he's going to die, but it's not called that the person did it by himself. It's only together with the combination that the air comes into him, and that causes him to die. Inami, Shema Ira, Kiev Misasa, the person himself, since he's jumping, the victim, he's jumping around, so he caused himself to die earlier than he would have. If he would have been still, he also would have died, but he wouldn't have died so fast.
The outcome is that he's not allowed to go to
him. So he's not Chayiv Golos only if he killed him directly, completely. But if something he did something which is going to cause him to die, but he didn't die because of him alone. There was something which Kiev Misaso, something which brought his death earlier. He's not Chayiv Golos. Taisha says it's only the guy with the din of Golos. As far as other things, Taisha seems to say he would be Chayiv Misa if he did it intentionally. It's Chayiv Misa. It's called that he killed him, even though it was the Ruach or Kiev Misaso.
Okay, but now that he's not allowed to go to
he doesn't have to go to. He doesn't have to go to.
Now the family's going to come and kill him.
No, he's not Chayiv. They're Chayiv Misa if they kill him. He's not. If they say Ein Gola, that means that he's not.
Even though we say that he would die, this person's dying.
Yeah, but it wasn't done all by him alone, and therefore he's not Chayiv Golos, and that means the family is not allowed to kill him. The Gemara says
fine line for the family.
That's going to be the Marcus. We'll get into those things by Marcus Bez Hashem. The Gemara says, "My benayu." The Gemara said, "Two pshat over either because the wind is involved also in killing him, or that he might have jumped around and that's what caused his earlier death." My benaya, between these two possibilities, the shachte be based of the shisha uperches. If he's in a marble house, that means there's no wind. The place where there's no wind at all, so then it's caused that the person killed him alone. There was no wind. Or but upirches, that he was jumping around. The person was jumping around, the victim. So then, according to the tzad that says kirv misaso, he did it to himself. Not that he killed himself, but he kirv misaso. He caused it to happen earlier than it would have. So the person, the one who did it, the one who killed him, would not be chayv golos. According to the first tzad, has to do with the wind. There's no wind over there. In the opposite case, the shachte bebra below pirches. He slaughtered him outside where there is a wind, but he wasn't moving. He was still. So according to the first side of the wind, so then he wouldn't be chayv golos. According to the side of jumping around, he didn't jump around, so then he will be chayv golos. That was a side point all about golos. But back to our subject, if somebody, his two simanim, his windpipe and his food pipe, both of them were severed, so then he definitely cannot live.
That's only right. I mean, I think minimum.
All right. Simanim were over simanim. True. Rabbi Yehuda Amar lo kol. It says in the Mishnah that 3 days after death, you can't recognize him anymore. So even if he says it looks like somebody, like he knows, it looks like Ruvain, but after 3 days, it could be a Shimon. This looks like Ruvain now because of his bloated, distorted face. But if Yehuda says no, not all people, not all places, not all times are the same. You can't. It's not no set rule of 3 days. First white line, is he coming to say a leniency that even after 3 days it is recognizable, or he's coming to say a stringency that even less than 3 days it's not recognizable? Which way is he going? The Tanna Kama says 3 days, and he says no, but he doesn't say which way no. Does it mean to say more, or does it mean to say less? Tashma dahu gava the tava b'karmi v'asku abehedia lebasa tlosa yomin ve'insava v'avdimi minado l'dvisu. A story that happened in the place of Karmi. Somebody drowned, and they took him out. They brought him out. Abehedia, that was probably the name of a place. They took him out to Abehedia after 3 days, and Rav Dimi ben Ada said that his wife could remarry. That means because of they had testimony that it's him. How do you know it's him? It was after 3 days. It must be that somebody holds. Rav Yehuda above must hold that you could still identify even after 3 days. According to the other side, that Rav Yehuda above was being machmir, even less than 3 days you can't testify. So who is he being samachan? You see, Rav Dimi ben Ada held that you're allowed to testify even after 3 days. Another story. The Suah who gave the atba bediglas, the askuhu agishwa de shavistana, the insava rabba the Vesua puma de shishvini, the basachamisha yomi. That there was a story, somebody drowned in the Diglas. Diglas is the Tigris River, and they brought him out by the bridge of Shavistana. That's the place over there. And Rabba said that his wife can remarry because they were Shishvini, they were friends who said that they identified him after 5 days. So here you see Madam Basar said after 3 days, after 5 days. So where did they get it from? If Rabbi Abba is coming to say that you can recognize him even after 3 days, so if Dini and Ada and Rabba they were relying on Rabbi Abba that it's recognizable even after 3 days. But if he's being marked even more, then even less than 3 days you cannot recognize him. So who are they relying on to say that you can recognize even after 3 days? Then my answer is Shanimai that Samsi. It could be no. It could be Rabbi Abba was really marked even less than 3 days. But the story over there was that they drowned. They drowned in water. So the fact that they're in water, so the water holds his form. He doesn't get bloated up as much as he would if he'd be out of the water. Since he's Samsi means to hold it together, like it. Right, the same word. Right, that holds it together means it holds the form together, and he could be preserved. It preserves him even more than regular. So everybody could hold. I mean, everybody could agree to this. Even Tanakama that says 3 days. Yudim says even less than 3 days. But if he's in water, he was drowning. He was in water, so then it could be that he's preserved even more, even 5 days. So the Gemara doesn't know. The Gemara leaves that we don't know if he argues the Kula or the Chumrah. Tanakama says 3 days standard. But Baba says either less or more. We don't know. We try to bring a proof from those who say that you could recognize him even after 3 days. But the Gemara rejects that proof because it could be that water is different. Everybody holds that you recognize him even after 3 days. So we end off not knowing what the Baba holds. We don't know. He holds in general less or more. But in water, everybody holds that you can recognize him even after 3 days. The Mars Akasha, that's strange to say. Why is it not moving? The Mars is surprised that water helps to recognize him. Before you said a second ago, not so long ago, we said today that in water, it makes it worse, that you cannot cauterize it, even though usually you could save him. The Mars says not new to each other.
That's when it's torn off limbs. This is not
right. The Mars says two subjects. If there's a wound, so then the water makes it worse, and you can't cauterize it. If there's no makkah, so then on the contrary, it holds them together, that you could the form together, and you could doesn't get bloated as early, and you could recognize him even after 3 days. Vani mili hecha de chiaske chaze b'shata yavel ishtoi mispes tafach. This is only take him out of the water. Only is if you took him out as soon as you took him out of the water, you saw him. Even if it's 5 days, you still can recognize him. But if he was out of the water, don't say that he starts another. The clock starts again. If he as soon as you take him out of the water and he's ready back on the dry land, so then you can't notice. Then he does blow right away. So then it could be it's even worse. It could be, but could be it's even. Maybe even within 3 days is not good. That I don't know. But the Gemara says,
the water will start decomposing
right, faster maybe, right. That's what it sounds like, right. So that was the end of that subject about recognizing, how to recognize identify the dead the corpse. That was that subject. Next subject. Nafal Lamayim. We had mention of this Mishnah before. Here the case is that somebody drowned. You don't know where he is. You don't find him. You don't see him. So can you assume that he's dead? So there's a difference between Mam Sheish Lamsov, Mam Shein Lamsov. Mam Shein Lamsov. There's more smart to say that he did die by Mam Sheish Lamsov. Not for the Mam Sheish Lamsov, Ben Shein Lamsov, Ishtasuma. Tanakama is Machmer and says even Mam Sheish Lamsov, even if it has limited amount that you can see, and you see he didn't come up, he went down, didn't come up. We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened, and you can't assume that his wife. You can't assume that he died, then his wife can remarry. We'll see as we go along how could that be. That's Rav Meir. Rav Meir, he's explaining. Such a story happened. There was a big boar, Mam Sheish Lamsov. It's not so big, and he came up after 3 days, and he was living. So it happens. How does it happen?
Because he wasn't dying, he wasn't drowning.
He was underwater for 3 days.
It's definitely a miracle.
Yesh lo sof, what does it mean?
Yesh Lamsov means that you see he didn't come out on the other side. It's a pool. I don't know. There's a boar gadol, a pool, and he went down, and you don't see him. Now, the pool, we talk about a pool, fair water you see is not there. Where is he? You see. But the case is that you don't see him. You don't see him.
It's a lake.
A big lake, and you don't, and you see all the Muslim say soon, it means that you see all the stuff, 4 sides, you see to the other side, and he went down and didn't come up. 3 days.
3 days, nothing.
What?
We're missing something. Not 3 days. You can't see.
Yeah.
So that's underneath.
Oh, okay. So you said the answer already. It could be that he found someplace with an air pocket.
You can say lake. Agam is a.
Whatever you want.
It's big
You said-
enough. There might be under. Oh, there's some areas that are dry.
A lake also might be. What do you mean dry? Talking about underwater. What do you mean dry? Not talking about dry. Talking about underwater. It doesn't make a difference if it's a pocket of air. It could be a pocket of air. A pocket of air that.
Or drink water.
There wasn't talking about eating and drinking and sleeping. There wasn't
3
talking
days,
about.
command you.
It's all see the Gemara. But as far as breathing, it could be that he found a pocket of air. A pocket of air. I mean, there's going to be some crevice over there that even though the water filled up, but there's still a crevice where there's a pocket of air. So it could be that he's breathing. Could be.
And then he waited to get his strength, and then he took a big deep breath and went back outward. But everybody had left by then.
We'll see a lot of live stories coming up.
Okay.
So this is the machlokas. Rameir says Yechoshes even after 3 Yechoshes. That's it. Even Mam Sheish Lamsov, which we say for sure we know that he's dead. We don't see him, but he must be dead because where did he go? So still you have to be Yechoshes he's alive. Rav Yossi argues. Ma'aseh besuma she'od l'tol b'morah v'yorad moshchol acharav v'shol kadei she'teisen nafsham. Do you see? It's not just saying there was a blind man who went down to immerse in a me'orah, a cave where there was water over there, and he didn't come up. And his assistant, the Moshe, the one who leads him, he's a blind man. He has somebody who's leading him.
Yeah.
So he also went also to get him, and he also didn't come up. And they waited as long as it would take that they should die if they'd have no air, and they whatever that means. And maybe I imagine, and they permitted the wives to get married. So he see you. They married off. They permitted the wives to be married. So you see, the basically argues. The mayor says Mam Sheish Lamsov is also us. Everybody holds Mam Sheish Lamsov is us. If it's a huge ocean and you don't see him come up, you don't know what happened. Maybe he was taken away undercurrent. You don't know. You don't see where he came up. So you cannot. That wouldn't hold Mam Sheish Lamsov. You cannot remarry. But Mam Sheish Lamsov, mayor's machmer on that also. That even though you see all around the lake and you see it didn't come up, he's surely dead. But Meir says, no, you have to be machmer. And Rav Yossi says, no, and he's the one who's making. Rav Yossi is making that Mam Sheish Lamsov, you're allowed to assume that he's dead. Another story. Should my Sebastian, we just had this before. Somebody that they lowered him down into the yam, I guess from a boat, whatever it might be, and only his foot came back. they pulled up the string, only his foot is there. That means the rest of him, wherever he is without a foot. It's not a question of is he drowning? Here the question is he doesn't have a foot. If the foot was cut, severed from above the knee, so he can't live. And they must have said before that it's not going to do cauterization, anything like that, whoever found him, because since it was with water, so the operation doesn't open anymore. So he definitely died. He's a treifa. It could be have to wait 12 months. I'm not sure. It could makes him a treifa. Doesn't make him definitely die right away. But in a kubala mata, he could live if it's severed, his foot is severed below the knee. It could be that he could live, and therefore we don't know where he is. It could be that he got away and he doesn't have a foot, and he and his wife may not remarry.
There's a case in Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt, in the Red Sea, that there were sharks. Just, I read it a few days ago, and the woman from Austria, she might something, or it fitted for a lemon person, she died. She came to the surface and got there, but she didn't live.
The question is if it's possible. The question is if it's possible to live. Just because the story happens that somebody died is not a proof. We want to know if somebody. Yeah. So we want to know if it's possible to live. So here's what it talks about. First, the first part of the Mishnah is talking about did he definitely die because he can't live underwater? And the second part of the Mishnah, could he live without a leg cut above the knee?
But the ratio is talking about no matter what kind of body of water it is, we don't let her marry.
That's what Meir.
Well, that's what.
Then
we have these three mices, which.
Three? Well, Rameir and Abiosi, they're bringing a story that Rameir is saying a story that a person could live even after 3 years, 3 days. So he holds that as asa. He's machmid even Mam Sheish himself. It's asa. Abiosi says no. Mam Sheish himself. You're not assume that he died. You don't make miracles over here. That another story, but that's another subject now. New story. There's
another story that had to do with the leg.
Yeah, nothing to do with Yossi. Make a period over there. New Mishnah. Tanarabana. This can be chazar what we said already. Tanarabana. Nafal ma'im shebein sheish lamsel bein shein lamsel ishta asur divrei Meir. Meir is a machna wrote in our Mishnah also that even if it's ma'im sheish lamsel, also it's asur because you don't know. Maybe he's living even though he's underwater. V'chachamim omrim ma'im sheish lamsel ishta muteres v'shein lamsel ishta asura. Chachamim is like a Yossi that he's makel and says that ma'im sheish lamsel you could assume that he's dead because he can't live. You see he didn't get out, and he's definitely not living underwater. What's called Mam Sheish Lamsof? Mam Sheish Lamsof from Abaya Kol Shema V'Roeh Ba'abu Chosav. That if you see the other side of the body of water, you see it didn't get out, so then you're allowed to assume that he's dead. If you don't see it so big, you don't see the other end, then you don't know what happened. Maybe he got out on the other end. Story, a couple of stories. Ahu Gabra, the Taba Ba'agma, there's Samki. Somebody drowned in the Agam, the pond, the lake of Samki, place called Samki. Answer of Sheila, Sheila permitted his wife to be married. That this is the case we're going to see that it's Mayim She'ein himself. Is that true? Mayim She'ein himself. Yeah, it's Mayim She'ein himself. Well, he couldn't see the other end. So Rav Sheila said that his wife could be married, and everyone argues on that. Everybody holds that Mayim She'ein himself. You cannot be married because maybe he got out the other side. Amalei Rav l'Shmuel, Tanashamte. So Rav told Shmuel. Rav heard about it. So he told Shmuel we should put him in chayrim. This Rav Sheila for saying such a psak. Rav Sheila permitted the wife to be married. The divisu to his wife. That's the divisu means the wife.
Case, the Agam, what's it called?
That's how we know that she can marry.
What do you mean? Rav Sheila permitted the wife to get married.
This is
I know that from the word base.
We know the divisu just means ishta.
Huh?
The word divisu means ishta.
Answer.
He married off.
I see married.
He married off the wife.
Oh, I see. Married off the wife.
That's the look at the Mishnah. He see what Nishal is saying. The word is in Hebrew. If you want to see the Hebrew, you see what Nishal is saying. Okay? So Rav Sheila permitted the wife to be married, even though the husband, we don't know that he died. It was Mam Shein himself. So Rav was very upset at Rav Sheila. Amalei Rav l'Shmuel, Rav told Shmuel, let's put him in the chayrim for making such a psak. Amalei nishlach le b'reisha. But Shmuel said, let's first ask him what's he doing. Let's ask him. Let's send a message to him. Like, what are you doing? So first they send a message. Ma'im shein himself isha asura muteres. What do you hold about somebody drowning in endless waters? Is it the wife muter asa? Shalach lu isha asura. So he said, yeah, wife is asa. Okay, we're going the right track. So then they said, Agma the Samki, Mam Sheish Lamsof, or Mam Shein Lamsof. This Agma the Samki, could you see the other end or not? Shalach Lu, Mam Shein Lamsof.
Berisha means what? Berisha?
What?
Letter?
First.
Oh, first. Like,
Before we put him on Chayim, let's ask him.
Let's ask him.
Ask questions, then shoot. First ask questions, first figure out. So they asked him, what's the Maim Shein himself? He said, Asa. Agma the Samki, so Maim Shein himself. Okay, 1 and 1 is 2. So how are you mounting? Umar, my time of Abadachi. So how did you permit a woman to get remarried? It's Maim Shein himself. You have to be Choshesh, husband's alive. So he said, I made a mistake. Mita Teina, I made a mistake. How did he make a mistake? He knows that Allah Chazasa. I know, Sabri, I thought, given the couple of Kaimu, since the water is still, it's still water. The water is gathered, kabu, like mikvah, gathered and standing. It's still waters. So it's Kamaim Sheish himself. Rashi seems to explain that they would have seen if he's going on the other side, even though it's Kamaim Sheish himself. You can't see the other end, but he saw the waters are still. They saw that the person drowned, and they don't see any movement of the water. They don't see that, so they thought that that's enough to assume that he didn't come out, even though it's Ma'am Sheish himself. That was what he thought. That's why he permitted him. Kavu b'kaimi. That's the word. Gather. The word mikvah. But he made a mistake. He realized he made a mistake. It isn't. I made a mistake to say still waters. Doesn't mean that some are still. They were waves. It means the waves are going to be the waves that the wind is blowing, so it also causes some waves. So it could be that he was pushed by the waves to the further than they could see, and you have to be choshesh. That's also called Maim Sheish She'ein himself, the endless waters. Means he thought Mita Teina, I made a mistake.
Anna, me.
Anna Sabri, I thought since there is still so it's Maim Sheish himself. Dummy. It's considered like end waters that have an end. Because I would see, or that it's we don't have to be choshesh. He got pushed away so far. There's no current over the way the Ashkol says. There's no undercurrent. There's no big currents over there that we could say that he got pushed away so far that we don't see where he came up. But then he says no, because since there are some waves. So it could be that he was pushed away and we don't see where he came up. So he had Ashpalu. I don't know.
What's the word?
That's the end of his sentence, yeah. Ashpalu and Rashi.
Maybe he came up on some of the wind, maybe blew him to the other side.
Right. The word Ashpalu sounds a little bit like lower. Shuffle means lower, but I don't get exact translation over here. And the Ashpalu might help us for the word Ashpalu. I don't know.
The Mekom Rechok Umasham Yatsa.
Rashi doesn't translate the word Ashpalu.
No, but he says.
Yeah, we got the idea. We got the idea. We just want to know.
I don't know what the actual word means.
One could say that a wave perhaps sent him down to a distant shore. Down, the word down. Ashpalu, down.
Shafel means down.
Okay, that was that story. And now, so now, even though he was wrong, but he didn't deserve a chayrim because
he
knew the halacha and he didn't mean it. He didn't go around the whole. He didn't just. He made a mistake, but he thought that it was right, but he didn't mean to do against the chachamim. He thought that it fits with the regular club, but he made a mistake. So they were happy that they didn't put him in a chayrim. That's what the Gemara says. Where is it? Where are we holding? Right here it goes. Kari Shmuel lady Rav Luna l'Tzadik Alaven. So Shmuel said about Rav that Hashem causes that tzaddik shouldn't have iniquity, shouldn't do anything bad. It means it would have been bad if Rav would have put him in chayrim. Hashem saved them.
Who said those words?
Shmuel said to Rav about Rav. Kari Shmuel the lady Rav. Shmuel's the one who told him don't put him in chayrim until you ask him.
Right.
But that means that Hashem orchestrated the Rav should be saved. That he didn't put.
No, I'm asking who made the statement. Kari Shmuel.
The Gemara is saying that
The
Shmuel
Gemara itself is praising
The
Shmuel.
Gemara is saying no. The Gemara is saying that Shmuel said about Rav. Lo yunul tzaddik halaven, that no bad is going to befall the tzaddik. Shmuel said about Rav. Shmuel saying to Rav, Rav's a tzaddik, and Hashem saved him from making a mistake. Hashem saved him through Shmuel.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
Shmuel was the savior.
Okay, but that's the point that Shmuel said Rav saved him, didn't make a mistake. And Rav Kari Rav Alei Shmuel was a shua b'rov ways. That Rav said about Shmuel that salvation comes from asking counsel. A lot. That means that the fact that he went to ask Shmuel and Eitzah, that's where the Yeshua came from. That Shmuel gave him a good Eitzah. Rav's asked the Eitzah, and he asked Eitzah first. The fact that Rav didn't do it right away, he first asked Shmuel, is that the right thing to do? So the fact that Rav asked an Eitzah, that's to Yeshua b'rov ways.
And they all have Mishnah memorized for such an occasion.
Okay,
What?
nice.
And they all have Mishlei memorized for such an occasion to know which person to
Right.
use
To
for
follow.
what, to praise somebody else.
Here goes the story. Tanya, Amra Rabbi, Maisa b'shnei bnei Adam, Mechamin, Mechmorin b'Yarden. There were two people who were, I think they were making nets. They were making nets by the Yarden. Yeah, that was their business to make nets, whatever. The Mechmoris means a net, a trap. And one of them went into a Mechila Shel Dagim. Rashi says Mechila Shel Dagim. I don't know the facts. Rashi seems to say that fish, sometimes they bore a tunnel. So there was a place where there was a tunnel over there. Underwater tunnel. And the sun set, and he wasn't able to, and he didn't know how to get out. And he was stuck in the tunnel over there. This is one case of the air pocket she spoke about.
One of the
guys was outside, one of the guys was inside.
What does that have to do with the ducky?
There was some kind of a mechila shel dagim, some kind of a fish tunnel.
That he went into?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the friend probably didn't know there was a fish tunnel over there. He just saw the guy go under, and he didn't come up.
Uh-huh.
And but the person who's inside the water, since the sun went down, he wasn't able to see how to get out of that tunnel, and he was stuck over there. And the friend outside on the shore waited, and it didn't come up. And he waited to see, and he couldn't live anymore. It means that if he's underwater so long, he definitely died. He came home and told the family, my friend died. He told the friend's family that your husband died. In the morning, the sun shone. He was able to see through the light. He was able to see how to get out of that tunnel.
The mechila is what?
Is the tunnel.
Is the tunnel. Uh-huh.
He came home and everyone's making a big hesped about him. Here I am.
He heard his own husband.
Happy.
Why didn't you tell me that when I was alive?
So you see that he lived.
Uh-huh.
Amar Rebbe, come to the Chachamim, Shamu Maim Sheish Lam Selfish the terrace, Shein Lam Selfish Asur. How great are the words of the Chachamim that they said that if it's limited waters, then she's mutter because you can see it came out. But Shein Lam Selfish Asur. This case was Ein Lam Self. The Yarden is called Ein Lam Self. Happens to be over here. The reason why he was saved is because of the air pocket. This happens to be the story. But the Gemara says that there was asked right away. What does that have to do with Mam Sheish Lam Self or not?
So what Rebbe said is part of the
It's the Brisa still.
is the price.
The Brisa. He said over the story. Then he said how great are the words of the Chachamim that they said that Mam Shein Lam Self, you have to be choshish that he's still living. And here the Gemara is saying the reason is because there was an air pocket.
Yeah.
So the Gemara says if the whole issue was about getting an air pocket, so then it could be by water that has a limit also. It means Rabbi is right. How come we're saying that Ma'am Sheish Lam Sof, you're allowed to assume that he died? Maybe he got some air pocket over there.
Even if they had a soap.
Right. The answer is, Ma'am Sheish Lam Sof, it's not usual to have such kind of an air pocket when there's a limited pool. If it's endless, so then that's where the fish are. It's very possible he found a place underwater to be able to have some air pocket. But the usual case, you're not choshish. I think that the Gemara doesn't say openly, but I think what Meir is one of Chayish Lamayuta. We had yesterday that Meir is choshish for the minority, so Meir is going to be choshish. Maybe even in Ma'am Sheish Lam Sof also there was an air pocket, and therefore it's possible that he's living, and that's why he's machmir that she shouldn't remarry even Ma'am Sheish Lam Sof. But the Rabbanan say that usually Ma'am Sheyesh Lam Sof does not have such an air pocket, and therefore you didn't see him come up. You could assume that he died. Amar Rabashi, Adam Rabbanan, Ma'am Sheyesh Lam Sof, Ishta Asura Hani Mili Binish Dalma. Avol Sobem Rabbanan Lo. That which we said that endless waters, the wife is usher because it could be he came up someplace else. That's only a regular man. That's not so famous. But it's a Talmud Chacham, and I would add on anybody that's famous. Low, then it's going to be mutter because where did he come up? Wherever he came up, someone should find out about it, then they would find the news would spread. Either Saleh Kol Islay. If he would have gotten up someplace else, it would have been enough noise that you would have heard about it. A regular person, no one knows who he is. It could be he came someplace and no one knows who he is, and the news didn't come back. And it could be the point you have to also add on, and he wasn't interested in coming back. All these cases, why didn't he come back? If he came up, so he should have come right away back home. It could be that things weren't going so well at home, and now he has a graceful way how to exit. That he died, nobody knows, and he really goes someplace else, and he'll start life again. All these the cases that he didn't come back. But if he's a famous Talmud Chacham, so then everyone knows about him. I would add on not only to everyone, anybody famous. But the Gemara says no, it's not true. There's no difference. Even the famous person, Talmud Chacham, also you don't permit it because you didn't hear any news. It could be that he came out someplace else and he didn't hear about it. Here the Gemara throws in passing, the evidence l'chatchila lo. Means all this we didn't talk about. What if a woman did remarry? We didn't talk about it. We just said she should not remarry. That's what we said, right? That all these cases, Ma'am Shein himself, she's not allowed to marry. What if she did? We didn't talk about it. So here the Gemara says in passing that the evidence, once he married, so lo teitze, means the chashash that he's alive maybe is only enough reason to say don't remarry. But if she did, we're not going to say get divorced. The Gemara throws it in here in passing.
If he did live,
What?
if he did live,
If you know that he's alive, no. What do you mean?
no. What did you say at the end? What is the divadi?
Wait, what is what?
Divadi,
If she remarried
because he died.
because she thinks that he died, she's allowed to stay married to the
him
second husband.
If he lived.
If who lives?
No, we don't know if he's.
If the first husband lived,
You're getting mixed the word divi evet means already happened. That's what you meant. That's the word. Divi evet.
the avad means if she
already
remarried,
remarried.
so then we don't tell her to get divorced. You're assuming that the husband died. Why is she married? Because she assumed that her husband drowned. So we tell her you shouldn't do that.
Oh, you mean like Rabbi Meir? That she shouldn't have.
Ma'am shein himself. Everybody agrees. Ma'am shein
everybody
himself.
agrees.
Everybody agrees she should not be married.
Divad, if she
remarried-
and we still don't know if he's alive or dead, but we assume he's.
We won't tell her to get divorced. If
We
she
won't
from a
tell her.
second husband,
Okay, I
she
If he
remarried.
appears on the scene, then she has to.
That's
leave.
what I'm.
If he comes back, he comes back.
Good.
That's
He comes
what,
back,
that's
it's all
what, that's
different.
what labor.
Yeah, of course he comes
Yeah, I got confused. Okay, I got it.
The chatchila lo. So the more I thought there's a difference if it's somewhere abundant, then you could assume if you didn't hear news in a couple of months that definitely didn't come back. Definitely he drowned. But no, you can't rely on that. Whatever happened, you don't know. We get to some island, nobody knows about it. No one's there.
L'chatchila would mean she knew that she wasn't allowed to.
The chatchila means she may not remarry. She may not remarry. That's what the
What's
chatchila.
diavad?
She did marry. She did remarry.
The other.
Lo tinase. The minister says lo teitze. She should not remarry. If she did, we're not going to force her to get divorced.
No, she didn't go according to Allah.
Right. I thought the article brought down that some talk about if she amazed, she didn't know the halacha and she remarried, or
But
she
it
knew
seems
the
like
halacha.
The low, I thought the in meant she didn't need a divorce.
Right.
I thought the in meant she didn't need a divorce.
The evidence means you don't make a divorce. You
So
don't
then the
get-
low, I thought would mean
she may not
she
marry.
can't, huh?
She may not marry. L'chatchila, she may not marry. If she got married, she can stay married. L'chatchila, she may not be married. If she remarried, she may stay married.
Okay.
Tanya, Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Gamliel. This is a famous Gemara that everyone talks about the Daf Yomi. One time, I was going on a boat and I saw another boat that broke, capsized, and I was troubled because there was Talmud Chacham on that boat. Rabbi Akiva was on the other boat, and I assumed that he died. When it came to the dry land, he came and started learning by me. Rabbi Akiva himself came. I thought that he died. I said, you, my son, Rabbi Akiva, who brought you out of the water? Amali Daf. This is Daf Shel Sfinan is Amali. I got a board of the boat, means the broken boat, the capsized, but I got a board. A Daf is a board. And the Cholgal V'Gal Shabal line and Ezili Roshi, every wave that came to me, I bowed my head and I was able to continue until I got to the dry. I had a wooden board to hang on, a plank of wood to hold on to. And all the drushes by the Daf, by the Siyam, they talk about the Daf. You have to hold on to the Daf. Hold on to the Daf. That's the planned words that they use a lot by the Daf. Yomi Siyam, and hold on to the Daf. And bow your head for each wave, and you'll make it till the end. The Mark throws in just by in parentheses. If the wicked people come against the person, he should bow his head. Means bow your head. All the waves, sorrows come, so bow your head and be submissive, whatever, and then it'll pass. Sorrows, Rishon, sorrows. That's the side point. Back to the story. Amarti Bosashah. Rabbi Gamliel said, "Come the Dom Devi Chachamim Shamu Ma'im Sheish Lamsov Uteres Ma'im Shein Lamsov Asura." I said I'd read the words of the Chachamim that you see sometimes a person lives. Ma'im Shein Lamsov. It's endless waters. You didn't see anything, and I didn't see that he was able to get out. I just saw the ship capsized, and I saw everybody dying. There's one person that he had a daf and he was able to get saved. So Chachamim are right that you can't assume that he's there just because he drowned. The boat capsized. It could be that he was saved. Ma'am Shein himself, the wife is also. Tan Yam Rabbi Akiva, Pamachas, a similar story. Rabbi Akiva himself now. Rabbi Akiva is the one who's the observer. Pamachas Yisrael B'Sfina B'Risi Sfina Achash Mitar V'Efes Payam V'Isim V'Style Talmud Chacham Shabo Man Rabbi Meir. That Rabbi Akiva knew that Rabbi Meir is on the other boat, and that boat was tossing in the Yam, and he thought that he definitely died. Above came to Cappadocia, and I saw. And then Rabbi Meir came and started learning by me. Who got you out of the Yam? That one wave pushed me to the next wave, and that to the next wave. He
never died.
He never died.
He was just
Without a doubt, the waves pushed him from wave to wave.
A gal.
A gal was a wave. A wave pushed me. I'm sorry?
Can you just repeat what he said?
A wave pushed me to the next wave, and the next wave to the next wave, until it spat me out to the dry land. אמרתי, באוסר שעה כמה גדול דרך חכמים, שאמרו דברים שיש להם סוף השתעשו. מותרס, פעם שאין להם סוף השתעשו. I said at that time how great are the words of the Chachamim that they said that if it's endless waters, the wife is us. If it's limited water, then it's mutter. But you see, it didn't come up. But if it's endless waters, you know what happened. Maybe he got daf, maybe he got a gal, and he was able to get out of the water that you don't see.
Body surfing. He was skateboarding, and he was body surfing.
New subject. Not for the more questions if somebody definitely died. Not for the go. Somebody fell into a den of lions. Is it possible that he's living? It's not sure that he died. It could be that lions weren't hungry at the time. It's not sure that he died. But Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Omer after Chafur Malay Nachashim Bakrabim ain't leading Allah. Machlokes, if he fell into a what's the word for a pit of the snakes? Is there a nice word for that? By lions, it's called a den of lions. How about if Chafura, some kind of a ditch of snakes and scorpions? So Tanakama says he definitely died. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says could be not. Chayshinon Shema Chabaru, maybe he's a snake charmer. Maybe he got down there and he knew what to do to keep the snakes away. What? The Tanakama, Agavitz is some maskila, but the Tanakama says even if it's a snake charmer, when he falls into them and he squashes, and then the snake charming doesn't help. They don't go for snake charming when they get stepped on the head. How about into a furnace? Not for the if he was put into a furnace, a fiery furnace, you could assume that he died. You could testify that he's dead, even though you didn't see the result. You don't say if he fell into a bubbling vat of wine or a bubbling vat of oil, it means that it's on the fire and it's burning. Allah, you could testify that he's dead because he couldn't get out of there. That if it's an oil vat, even when he falls into it and the oil spills over, you're right. It's not going to make the fire any less, the bubbling any less, because the fire is going to get strengthened from the oil. But if you fall into wine or water, so then when it overflows, it'll put out the fire, or at least temporarily, and therefore it'll get cooled out. He could have gotten out. No, it's not going to help. Even if it's going to be young, and also, even though initially when the water spills over, the wine spills over, it'll extinguish it a little bit, but then the fire anyway might overpower and it'll burn off. Anyway, it wouldn't be enough time to get out. Then you could testify that he's definitely died. I'm Rabbi Meir. May said somebody lived even after 3 days. So we spoke about the ear, how it's possible to live without ear. We said there might be an ear pocket, but the Gemara has other problems also. First it says, that's it's a miracle that somebody came out after 3 days. So why is it a miracle? Now the Gemara knows the issue before about the air pocket. So that wouldn't be a miracle. But the one said this is a miracle to come out after 3 days. What's the miracle? That he didn't drink for 3 days. That's impossible to live for 3 days without food and drink. By the story of Esther, they fasted for 3 days and nights. It's possible to live without food for 3 days and nights. Because he couldn't have gone without sleep for 3 days. If someone made this oath that he's not going to sleep for 3 days, it's impossible. A person can't go 3 days without sleep, and therefore you give Malchus right away. Don't wait 3 days. Right away, he made a shvuah shav and tell him to go to sleep because the shvuah is not a good shvuah. What do you see? A person can't go 3 days without sleep. So therefore, it can't happen. He can't be over there 3 days without sleep. So he must have died. Rav Meir, night timer, I can't sleep. He can't go without sleep. Rav Kana, keeping Haru, there was some kind of rock where he was able to sleep, maybe, that even though he had an air pocket, he also had a place to sleep. Rabbanan, the Shisha Haru. I don't know what it means, but it seems to say like that it's smooth. it's smooth in a way that he can't sleep on it. Rav Meir says it's still possible that he could a little bit sleep, a little bit, get a few winks of sleep, and therefore Rav Meir says that it's possible to live.
Kifin sounds like bending over. What's
Kifin is like kind of a rock.
A rock?
What does it mean? Cape? C-A-P-E.
Arches.
No, you're right. Cape is.
It's not like a
is,
kippah.
Cape is usually a pinnacle of seas coming together at a
Hmm.
point. Or,
Yeah, it means some kind of a rock. Kifin. Kamin binyanim. Rashi says Kamin binyanim bu'olamos. Finish on the land. This is a place where you might have gotten to sleep over there. Also, the Rabbanan say that it's slippery, but Rav Meir says it's possible for him to at least hold on to it a little bit and then to get some sleep. So that's machlokes if you choshish that he would live even after 3 days. Tana Rabbanan. Ma'isa, famous story. Ma'isa bito sham nechon Yaakov Hashich. And there was a person, a big tzaddik, his name was Nechon Yaakov Hashich, and he's the one who used to dig wells. And the purpose was for all the regalim, he wanted that people should have water. So that was his thing. He used to dig wells for people to be able to have water. And his daughter fell into a bore. She fell into some big pit. And the question, and they thought that she died. They told Chanina Mendoza that the daughter of Nechon Yaakov Hashich fell into water. The first hour he said she's still safe. Second one he said also said that she's still safe. Also the third hour he said that she definitely was taken out, and she was saved. And then she came, and then she came home. He asked her, my daughter, who got you out of the bar? There was a ram with an old man leading it. So the Gemara doesn't say, Rashi says that it means Avram Avinu. Avram
There was a
Avinu,
what? Did you say a man?
a man,
I didn't hear the word you
an
said.
old man. There was a ram,
Or a ram.
R-A-M.
Rechilim.
Rachel is a female sheep,
Yeah.
but the Zachar Shel Rechelim is the ram.
Well, the Zachar Shel Rechilim.
A male, it's a very strange way to say it, a male of the female sheep. It's a male. It's a ram. And an old man was leading it. He's the one who took me out. And Rashi says it was Avram with the Ayel of Yitzchak.
Wow.
So I don't know how Rashi knows that, but that's what it says. Yeah. So what does it mean? So of course it wasn't the same. It was there's some kind of miracle that Hashem made that Abraham Avinu should come with a ram, and he's the one who happened to pass by and saved her. Right. The Gemara doesn't say that. Rashi puts that in.
Yeah, Reuben was there also, so if you can ask.
Right. So yeah, the ram. So I don't know how Rashi knows it. And that's what she said. So then they told her, he must be a prophet. How do you know that she's alive? I'm not a prophet and I'm not studying prophecy. I'm Ben Navi, the ones, the disciples of the Navi. It doesn't mean the son of a Navi, it means disciples of the Navi. How did I know? It can't be that the father, the tzaddik, was the osek and giving water to people that his daughter should die in the water. That couldn't be. But his son did die from thirst. Taisha says that the son dying from thirst is not the same as the first thing. She would have died from water. Taisha says means that the water itself should be the thing that caused the death. That surely knew that not. But still, that somebody in the family should die from thirst, that is possible and is considered, of course, he has so much merit. Didn't it save him? Wasn't that enough because that the son should not die from thirst either? And that it said that Hashem medakte kim chasidav kechot asara. Amir Rabbi Abba Abba became amazed but someone that Rabbi ben Nechon Yaakov Hashichin's son died from thirst and Emma usvivav nisra mode. The Pashtat means that around Hashem it's very stormy. This is stormy, but the word darshan is sa'ara like a hair's breadth. That Hashem is particular with those that are close to Him. Even a hair's breadth means that, of course, it's for the benefit of the tzaddikim that Hashem, even a small thing, Hashem also makes that they should get a kapara in this world, that they shouldn't have to suffer in the world to come, and they should be able to get a very high place. So even though there's so many schuyot, there was some problem over there, some flaw, and that's the reason that his son didn't have enough schuyot to be able to save from.
The same person who gave water to the Yerushalayim, what was his name?
Nechon Yaakov Hashichin, the last narrow line, and his son died from thirst. Rabbi Chanina Amar Meyacha, same point but different pasuk. El Naras Pesach Kedashim Rabbah, Kama, V'Nara Kol Sviva. The more is darshaning the end of the pasuk. V'Nara Kol Sviva. Hashem is awesome upon all those that are around him. The same point that those that are close to Hashem, that there's more particular judgment against those that are big tzaddikim, that they have to stand up to higher standards. So therefore, his son did die in thirst. But the point is that his daughter would not have been killed by the water. And that Taisu says, because that would have been impossible. That even with all of the tiktok hadin, but not that the water, which he does such a big mitzvah that it should kill his daughter. But the fact that it didn't have enough water, that's still possible. Adkan.
I was saying it's still in kasha because he must reflect